Well, as you can see, I have this project ready. My main.dart file is open and I have an emulator up and running. We don't have much in this code as of now, just a simple myapp class, which is a material app. Title is time, theme is blue, and right now I have a scaffold with a background color of red. So, as you have already seen, all that we need is a tab activity. So I'm saying, and I have an app bar, and the app bar has a title which is a text visit, and it says time project, let's say. And now if I save this, this is how my app bar looks. Now I need a tab activity, obviously. So in my app bar I have a bottom, and the bottom is going to be a tab bar. Now the tab bar needs some options about which we are going to work right now. The first one we need is a tab, then we need a controller, and we need this, I think I call it as tab views. So let's first of all we need tabs. It will be a widget. I just have two widgets, two texts. So the first text will say timer, and the second text will say stopwatch, obviously. Save it, and nothing is going to happen right now. We will see an error because we don't have a controller for the tab bar. Now since as soon as this page opens, we need a tab bar, we need a controller. So I'm going right here. I'm saying that I have a tab controller, which is TB, which is a tab controller. That's it. Now to use this tab controller, we need a ticker provider. So I'm saying ticker provider state mixin. And now as soon as now I have to override the init state. So I'm saying void init, and we have already done this a lot of time. Init state, and I have to override this property. So I'm saying at rate override, and in the init state all that I have is that this TB is going to be a tab controller with a few options. The first one is going to be, come on, forgive me for my typing speed and my typos. The first one is going to be a length, which is going to be 2 right now, and then we have a vsync, which is this, that is this class. Save this, and we need a semicolon, and then I have to call the supers init state. That's it. Save it, and nothing happens right now because here too we have to say that we have a controller. So let's write here a controller, which will be a TB, right? That's it. Save it, and things should be okay. Now in the scaffold I should return something. I mean, we need a body, and the body is going to be a tab bar view. The tab bar view will again contain children's, and when we set the controller same for both the tab bar and the tab bar view, they both are related to each other. But here we need two children's, so I'm saying text and another text. This is again going to be timer, and this is going to be stopwatch. Okay, let's save it. Well, obviously we can't see anything because we need to restart the application. Then this effect will take changes because we have made changes to the state of the app. As I told you earlier, now we have a timer and a stopwatch. You see, we can drag through them. If I click here, it goes there. Now let's give this some basic styling. Nothing much, just basic ones. So here in the tab bar, in the tabs, I'm saying I need a label padding, which will be edge insects only, and I just want to give some bottom padding. Let that be 10.0. Save it, and this is the bottom padding that we get. I also need some label style, which will be text style, and here I just want to say the font size to be, let's say, 18.0. Save it. I think it's looking decent right now. The next thing that I need is unselected label color, which should be colors dot white, but only with 54% of opacity. Save it, and this is how it looks. I think it looking good. If you want, you can increase the opacity. We have further option of going to 60, 74 2. That's all up to you. If you want, you can even change the color. I can say colors.red, but trust me, it's not going to look good. See, this is how it looks. When this is not selected, the color will be red, which ain't good at all. On another better option is going to be gray, if and only if you want. But anyway, this is all about UI, and I'm not going to talk much about that. Just white with 60% opacity is working good for me. So I have this, and actually I think this time project should be in the center and it will look cool. So center title true. That's it. Done. Okay, now all that we need is that, take a look right here. Okay, we have this tab bar. That's okay. We have a controller for the tab bar, and then this body is just a tab bar view with two childrens. Each children is a visit. The first one is for this first tab bar, that's a timer. The second one is for the second tab bar, that's a stopwatch. Now, what we can do is that instead of saying, or instead of coding a visit right here, we can code a visit somewhere else, and then we can just pass the visit right here. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. We have already done this in the calculator app. So let's say that the visit that I'm going to code right here is going to be timer visit, which obviously we don't have as of now. So here, after this init state, I'm saying I have a visit. The name is timer, and since this is a visit, it should return a visit, and this returns a container. Okay, now what my container has is something that we're going to look right here. It will have a child, which is going to be a column, and in my column, like in this complete column, I'm dividing this column into 10 parts using expanded and flex, and 6 parts plus 1 plus but 3 parts. I'm going to divide it in 3 different parts, and you will see soon what I'm going to say right here. Actually, the first 6 part will hold a number picker. The one part will hold a text that will be displayed when the timer is running, and the next 3 parts will hold 2 buttons, a start and a stop. So all that we have in the column as children is 3 expanded. Cool. Copy it thrice and comma comma comma. Obviously we need to provide a flex and a child. So for the first one, the flex is going to be 6. For the second one, the flex is going to be 1, while for the third one, the flex is going to be 3. Cool. Now we need child. Obviously it's going through error, so I'm saying child, let's say just some random text, let it be 6, and the same child I'm going to provide everywhere. So copy it and paste and paste. Let this be 1 and this be 3. Save it and let's wait for the output. Here we have 6 1 3. This is how they're divided. And if I say the columns main axis alignment to be at center, it's not going to affect much because this is complete expanded, and I should center this with respect to the expanded, which I'm not going to do right now because this is not what I want. Now what I want is something that you should be considering. So I'm going to Chrome and take a look at this package. This is called NumberPicker, and obviously it is decent enough for us to use. See here, we can pick number, we can scroll up and down to pick number, and I'm going to use this. Obviously to use any external package, we have to mention it in the dependency. So I'm going to just copy this, go here to pubspec.yaml, and here you will see dependency. Make sure that you are in the same line as in Flutter, then paste NumberPicker, save it, and it should run itself. Yeah, thank God this time it's running, because last time when I did this it was not running itself and I had to type the command again. Anyways, we have an exit code of 0, which means that now we are good to go. So here to use that we need to import it. So I'm saying import a package which is number, okay, not package, import NumberPicker slash NumberPicker dot dot. Cool. Now what I need in this expanded is a row with 3 columns, and you have already seen in the design, so I don't think I have to talk much about it. Let's say in the expanded of flex 6, I don't want the child to be a text. I want my child to be a row. The row will have its own children, and the children is going to be a column. The column will have its own children, and the children are going to be padding with a padding which will be edge insects only, that is at bottom with 10.0 is pretty decent, with a child of text, and the text is going to be HH, stands for R. After the padding, the next wizard that we have is a number picker dot integer. We want an integer right here, and obviously now this will have its own property: initial value, max value, minimum value, unchanged, and infinite loop. Too many. If you want to look into this further, you can look in this documentation. Obviously right now we need an initial value which we don't have, but let's work with this. How about minimum value? The minimum value for R can be 0. The maximum value for R can be 23, because then it will be a day. Then we have onchanged, infinite loop, list view width, and I need two more things: onchanged and list view width. But before that, I need to set this initial value to something. So here I have an integer, that's R, which is 0 by default, and here I am to show hour. So that's it. Now I have to say onchanged. So now onchanged is a function which accepts any integer. So let's say that in this case the integer is val, like any variable name, and it will be an integer by default. So let's say that the integer is val. This is the variable name that we use. So here I have to just call the set state. I have to set the value of hour to val. Now what basically happens here is that, let me just save this. Take a look right here. Here is the HH and this is the number picker. If I scroll up, you see the value keeps changing to 2, 3, 4. So this highlighting is done through this on change. So whenever we change this, the value which is at this point is being passed, and then the initial value is set to that which will be highlighted. Now this is for hour, so I need two more for minute and second. Now obviously you can code another widget with this complete column, but what I'm doing right now is simply copying this column completely, paste and paste again, save this. Cool. Now I have 3 of them. One more thing that I need is that you can see that the spacing is too much. I don't want that much spacing, so let's say list view width, and let's set it to something like 60.0, or even 50 or 70 will be good. 60 is decent. You can even go with 50 or 70. That's all up to you. Yeah, I think 60 is decent. And I have to set them to both, and I have to change the value for all of them, which means I need two more variables, which is an minute, min for minute, and sec for second. Then let's go right here. First one is r, then the second one is going to be, let's say, min minute with list of 60. That's okay, and here I have to say minute. Then here again I'm saying this will be second. This too should be second with list view width of 60.0. I don't think I have changed the list view width for the first one. Obviously I haven't. So list view width of 60.0. Let's save it, and this is how it looks. Obviously for this row I have to say that the main axis alignment is going to be at center, so that this looks decent. For this column I have to say main axis alignment is going to be at center, and you see this is post between. So let's just copy this and paste this for all the columns. That's just 3 that we have. Let's save it, and this is the output that we have: hour. Obviously I have to change this double H to, this would be double S for second, this would be double M for minute. That's looking okay. I just want to make them darker, and this text I think is already okay. Yeah, they are already okay. So let me just code the changes soon. As you can see, I haven't done much. I've just changed the text style, increased the font size, and I just made it little more bold. That's it. So this is what we have. You can see this is a very flexible number picker, and the value is always available in these variables, because you can see we are changing them. So that's completely okay. Now let's move to the second part. In this expanded, I'm just going to have a text, and this text will just have some style, where I just want to increase the font size so that you can see the timer at any place. So let's say that I'm setting the font size to something like 40.0. Actually, it will be too much for small devices. Let's say 35.0. That's it. Nothing much that I want in this. We can even increase the font weight if you want. Let's say font weight is going to be font weight dot w600. Okay, decent one. Yeah, enough. Now let's talk about this expanded. In this expanded, I need a row with two buttons. One should say start and the other one should say stop. So let me just code them first because I don't think I need to show you how to code a button in Flutter. We have two buttons, one for the start and the other one for stop. Now all that I need right here is that, let me just talk about the complete flow of this program. By default, these all will be set to 0. Okay, and there will be nothing visible in this view. It will be empty, and the start button will be enabled but the stop will be disabled, because I've already told you we are going to learn a lot in this video. So by default the start should be enabled, the stop should be disabled, and when you click on start, the start should be disabled and the stop should be enabled so that people can stop, and when again you click on stop, the start should again be enabled while the stop should still be disabled. So let's work with that. How do we do that? So first of all, we need two functions. Okay, the first one I'm going to name it as void start, and it is all about the start timer, and then we have the void stop, which is all about stop the timer. We need two booleans. One is going to be started, which will be true by default, like to check if it started or not. And one will be boolean stopped, which will also be true by default. What's going to happen right here is that in this onPressed property, we are going to use conditional statements. Okay, ternary conditional statements. So here, okay, where do we have those buttons? Right here. Fine. In this onPressed property, for the start button, I'm saying check about this is started. Now if this is true, if this is true, like if the started is true, which is by default true, we can press the start button. So you can go to this start function. But if this is false, this is set to null, that is the button is disabled. So by default this is true, so the button is enabled, and when you click on this, we actually execute, or we call the start function. Come on, let's not go there. And here on the second raised button, that's a stop, I'm saying check if the stopped is true or not. Now if this is true, which is by default, then this should be disabled, and if this is false, we should be able to call the stop function. Save this and see the stop is disabled by default. Now when we click on start, okay, what should happen when you click on this start button? First of all, we need to get the time. We need to understand how much time we have to run as a timer. Then we have to run the timer. We have to start displaying the timer over here, and then we have to decrease the timer every second, like however you want. Mostly it's every second. Then we have to show the timer being decreased right here, and then at the end when the timer is 0, we have to stop the timer, set this all to 0. Again we have to make the start button active, the stop button disabled, and there's a lot more that we have to do, but don't worry, just hold a cup of coffee if you have, because I don't have, and then let's start coding. That's simple. I need an integer which is going to be time for timer, and this is 0 by default. Now whenever you click on the start, I'm going to get this time for timer, and this will calculate the complete time that we have to run for the timer in seconds. Now to do that, we will first get the hour value, and then we have to multiply it with 60, and again multiply it with 60. Come on, I know multiplication, so I can of course multiply it with 3600 at once, but this was just to make sure that you understand things. Next, we will get the minute, and then we will multiply this 2 by 60. So this 2 is in seconds. Come on. So get the minute, multiply it by 60, and then seconds. I don't think we need to do anything with that. That's okay. I need two more parentheses. Let's save it. So now we have the time for timer. Let's check with debug print. This you should always do whenever you are doing something. Make sure that you keep checking if the value that you want you are getting the value that you want or not. Or I'll tell you what happened. You will end up getting a lot of errors at once and you'll be like, what is the error, where do I have to debug? So make sure that you keep doing this multiple times. So now let's say that I'm making it like 1 minute and 3 seconds, so it should literally return me 63. Yeah, it did return me 63. Take a look at this. I think you guys can see this. If I go for 1 hour, 2 hour, it's returning 7263. I can't calculate that, sorry, I'm not that good in mathematics. Let's say 2 minutes and 3 seconds. Yeah, it should return 123. Yeah, that's completely okay. Now let's move forward. What do we need next? Now as soon as we have this time in seconds, we need to start our timer, which will periodically call a function which will keep decreasing the value. I mean, this is how the timer works. So type timer and this will automatically import the dart.async, and if it's not working, just make sure that you have this imported. If this is, then you are good to go. Now next that we need from this timer is timer.periodic, and this calls a function in this duration that we set right here. So the duration is going to be duration in seconds, that is 1 second, and the callback is going to be another timer. Okay, let's say a timer t. So I'm saying the callback is going to be a timer which takes a timer t, and here is the code that we are going to write. Like, this is the function which is being called after every second. Okay, now this function takes a timer t, and all that we are saying right here is that we have to decrease this time, and then we have to change this value which is being displayed right here. For that, I again need a string which is going to be time, come on, not t, time to display, which is going to be empty by default. Save it. Let's just move right here. It says, okay, the flex is 1, and here I'm displaying 1 while I should be displaying time to display. Let's save it and see. This is empty by default. Only when I set or when I give a time to display any particular value, it will be displayed. Now let's work with this part, the very important part about timer. And if you want to implement this in any other application, you have to pay close attention to this part. So what I'm going to do inside this function is, first I'm going to say that I'm going to make a lot of state changes inside this application. So just rebuild this and so what you want to. Now there are going to be two simple broad cases. Obviously we are going to write a lot of if statements right here. Right now there will be two simple cases. The first one is that the time for timer is going to be less than 1 second, that's 0. At that time we have to cancel the timer, else we have to make sure the timer is keep running. Now when the time for timer is less than 1 second, all that I'm saying t dot cancel, and the timer will be cancelled. In every other case I'm saying time for timer is equal to, come on, time for timer minus 1. That's it. That's completely okay. Let me just show you what's going to happen right here. If I say time to display is equal to time for timer dot to string, because that's an integer, so we have to convert it to a string. Let's save it. Let me tell you what's going to happen. When I run this timer for 1 minute and 3 seconds, this is how it's going to display. Okay, 62, 61, and so on. Let me show you what happens, like more uglier. Let's say I'm running this for 5 minutes and 3 seconds. Now it will display something like this. It is actually displaying the number in seconds. Okay, the second problem is that when one timer is running already and we again tell this timer to start itself, you see that the counting begins more faster. Let me just click on the start button again. Okay, see, the counting is very fast right now. Okay, so we have to make sure that this timer is cancelled. Like, that's why we don't want this start button to be active once the timer has started. So let's work with that first of all. Okay, to do that, all that I have to say is that first disable this start button. So in this void start, I have to say disable the start button. Now I'm not going to do this and do that disabling part in this set state, because if I do, this is being called multiple times. So multiple times the button will be enabled and disabled, which is not good for our application. So I'm saying as soon as this start is called, I'm going to make a change in the state, and all that I'm going to do is to change these values. Now my started should be false, okay, like I don't want to start it, while my stopped, come on, stopped should be, come on, stopped should be true. Save this, okay, come on, save this again, and now let's click on start. You see now my start is disabled and the stop is also disabled. Come on, why? When the stop, come on, not true, it should also be false. Okay, let me just save this. Let me just save this, and now obviously I have to restart the application, or else I don't have any option to make sure that this both buttons are working again. So let's restart it. And now again, let's say I'm starting my timer for some particular minutes and seconds. Click on the start button, and this is started, and now the start button is disabled and the stop button is working. Click on the stop, nothing happens. Obviously all that we have to do is to again disable the stop button and enable the start button, for which I'm going in this void stop function, and I'm saying make some changes in the state, and all that you have to do is to make sure that the started is again set to true, while the stopped is again set to false. Now some of you might feel that the name and the values are too much confusing, but okay, I just want to say, I just wanted to make sure that these values are simple to understand. Like I can make this a started false by default and stop true and work with that, but then these two part will be very confusing. Right now they're not, and I don't know why, but my app just crashed, it stopped. So let's restart it. I have my application up and running. Let's click on the start button at any particular value. Let's say this, click on start. Now we have the start disabled and the stop enabled. Click on stop, and now we have stop disabled and start enabled. One more thing that we have to implement yet is that when this stop is clicked, this timer should stop. Let me tell you one thing guys right now, that just to make sure that this thing is implemented in the easiest possible way, like you just stop the timer when this stop button is pressed. And let me tell you what is actually happening here. I'm saying that I have to stop this timer which is being accepted as an anonymous function from this another function, which ain't easy. Like I had to use disposed, like I have to use destructor, not deconstructor, sorry, destructors to do this, which was not a simple task. So we have a another very simple way. I mean, you will be like, wait, why to use destructor when you can do this in this simple way? All that I'm saying is that I have a boolean which checks check timer, okay, which is true by default. Like whatever it is by default, nothing's going to happen. All that I'm saying that here, this check timer, make this false. So when this button is pressed, the check timer will be false. And here, when I'm stopping the timer, when I'm canceling the timer, I'm saying either if the time for timer is less than 1 second, or if the check timer's value is false, just stop the timer. Save this, okay, click on start again, and now when I click on stop, timer should stop. Okay, it's not stopping. Why? Check timer, if check timer is equal to false, do this, and then I have to say that the check timer should again be set back to true after canceling the timer. Let's restart the application now. Okay, so again, if I start the timer for some particular minutes and seconds, let's say start, we have this up and running. If I click on stop, it should stop the timer, which it did. See, it's not moving, but the problem is that when it had stopped the timer, this text should not be displayed and this should be set back, which we are going to do soon. First, let's tackle with this text not being displayed, and all that I have to do is that cancel the timer, set the check timer to true, and the text to display. Come on, where is my text to display? Okay, time to display, set this to an empty string again. Very simple. Now the next part that we have to deal with, which is that let's say I'm starting this for some 1 hour 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Click on start and it will show this huge number in seconds, which obviously the user doesn't want. Like, who wants to look at 3718 seconds yet remaining? No, we want it this in simple numbers like 1 hour 2 minutes 5 seconds, 1 hour, 2 minutes, 4 seconds, in that way. Now what do I have for that? Very simple program. Okay, this is a simple dart program which basically takes the time for timer and then a string we have to display, and then I'm converting from seconds to hour and minute. You can take a look at this code. I've posted this on Facebook. I will post the link in the description. And by the way, you guys should consider following me on Facebook and Instagram too, because I post very interesting stuff there too, always. Anyway, so this is the thing that I'm going to use. So all that I'm saying is copy this complete thing from here, and let me just show you what's happening. If I say 70 seconds, okay, when I run this program, it takes 1 minute and 10 seconds. See, so it's working. Basically it is working. Okay, here I had 1 minute 2. Okay, I have to, if I click on stop and if I say start again, it says 3725, and if I keep this 3725, let's run this, then it should say 1 minute to 1 hour 2 minutes and 5 seconds, which is working. So let's just copy this and let's just go here, and here after this if, and before this else, I want this too. So I'm saying paste, and all that we have to say here is else. Okay, so if it's less than 1, cancel it, else if it's less than 60, just make it in this way, and this time for timer should keep running. Else if it's less than 3600, that if it is in minute plus seconds, make it in this way, and then the time for timer should keep decreasing. Else this part where just keep it in this way, and the time for timer should keep decreasing, and I don't want this last else. Okay, so and the time to display, which we are setting to time for timer, I don't even want this right now. So let's just erase this, let's save it again, and now we have something. I don't understand. Okay, it's working actually. Let's just restart the application first, and let's check this out again. I'm saying I want my timer to be running for 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Click on start and it starts running. 2 minutes 4 seconds, 3 2 1 0, and again 159. Click on stop. This stops, the text disappears. Fine, very cool. Let's say I'm saying this for just for 5 seconds. Click on start, see what happens. 4 3 2 1, stop. That's it. Now what I need right here is that when this stops itself, okay, see, when the timer stops itself, then I have to make sure that again these both are set back. And what we can do for that is just copy this and paste it right here, which means if by any means somebody stops the timer, just set back the disability and ability of this button to be pressed as they were usually. Okay, and also this part is running. Now I think we have come to the last part of our implementation, which is that these should set themselves back. But before I do that, let's just restart the application to make sure that this button thing is fixed or not. And now okay, so if I say, okay, let me first run the timer for say like 5 seconds, 7 seconds. Click on start. Let's see, 7 6 5 4 3 2 1, done. See, okay, it is not being set. Why man? Because all that I'm doing is setting back, so this both should be true, not false. Click again, click on stop, click on start. Now let's see, click on start. 7 6 5 4 3 2 1, done. Cool. This is how it's looking, and it's working. You can see it's working. I mean, actually, let's say for 1 minute and 7 seconds, click on start. And don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to look at the screen for 1 minute. Just click on this stop and see the stop button too is working. Now, all that we have right here is to set this back. Now this thing that we are implementing is from an external package, okay, which is NumberPicker.dart, and we don't have any simple option to reset this simply. Okay, we don't have any such option where we can reset this number picker to 000. Okay, so either we can go the hard way, that's writing a lot of complex code for doing this, or I can tell you a very simple thing. All that we have to do is to rebuild this page, and when we do that, like when we rebuild this page, everything will be set back how it was. So all that I'm saying is that when the timer is less than 1, all that we have to do, just to make sure that this is resetted, all that I have to do is I'm saying use navigator and then push named, okay, not push name, push replacement. And why I'm saying push replacement is that if I just simply push this page, then when you will press this back button, all the previous pages will be visible. So I'm saying push replacement for the context a new root. The new root is going to be material page root. We have already worked with this, so I don't think I have to talk a lot about this. Material page route, it takes a builder with a context, and it will call an app which is home page. Come on, man. Home page. That's it. Okay, let's just save it. And now if I say that let's just run this timer for 3 seconds, click on start. Now let's see what's happening. 3, 2, 1, done. Okay, now everything is set back to 0. Now since we are running this app from beginning, I don't think we need to do these two. Okay, this thing will be handled automatically. Even the check to timer will be handled automatically, and even this check timer will be handled automatically. Okay, so yeah, let's see if it works or not. Click on start. This is how it's working. Click on stop, and everything is set back as it was earlier. Now one more thing that you guys might be wondering is that how to know if somebody stopped this timer or that it has stopped by default. Like let's say somebody set the timer to 5 seconds. Fine, 6 seconds. Click on start and it goes 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and done. And one more thing is that somebody can say start the timer for 1 minute and 2 seconds. He clicks on start and then he clicks on stop, so that everything is set back as usual. Now that also is very easy. Fine, all that you have to do is here when this timer is cancelled, see, you have to just check for the time for timer. If this is equal to 0, then this means that the user has not cancelled or stopped the timer. It has just stopped by default as the second reached 0. So I'm just saying debug print stopped by default. Let's save it. Let me get my debug console up, clear it, and let's see what happens. I'm running this for 2 seconds. Click on start and pay close attention to my debug console. It says 2, 1. It says stopped by default. While on the other hand, let's say I'm running this for 1 minute and 1 second and I myself am pressing the stop button, then it won't give any such message as stopped by default. So if you want to do anything like play a music, open a new screen, or so what do we call it as alert dialog, yeah, you can do anything that you want. And that's pretty much it in this video. We have the timer up and running. The stopwatch, I will code this in the next video for sure. And now I'm tired of recording this video, so I'm going to grab myself a cup of coffee. But I don't think you guys are tired, so just hit the like button. What are you waiting for? I'll catch up soon in the next video. Keep learning, keep coding, keep sharing, and the link to this project will be shared in the description on GitHub. It might not be available right now, just the time when the video is posted, but it will be available within a couple of days. So make sure that you check it out later on.